Hey folks, it's Cynthia Deering here. Welcome to the Business Beyond Borders podcast and to our special series on COVID-19, where we're talking about how the global pandemic is affecting industries and businesses around the world and what it means for you. If COVID-19 has created challenges or opportunities for your company, check out the crisis support package, which I've put together for businesses looking to make the most of this very challenging time. You can find details in the show notes for this episode. Today, I'm talking to Steve Hui, aka the Points Whisperer, founder and chief executive of iFly Flat, which is Australia's #1 reward travel experts. Steve and I are talking about how the pandemic is changing the way we do international travel. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Now, for people who don't know iFly Flat yet, can you tell us a bit about what you do?
We do something really interesting. We help people and companies who've got lots and lots of frequent flyer points to use them. So basically, we make their points fly. And the problem is, like, frequent flyer point seats can be quite hard to book, especially business and first class. So we had a team of 10 people who specialize in turning those points into seats in the pointy end, helping people fly for pretty much a quarter of the price of buying a ticket. So, which is a pretty good business till COVID-19 hit.
So yeah, look, let's talk about that. COVID-19 has kind of ripped around the world and we've seen airline travel plummet. I was reading this morning that up to 96% of flights have been cancelled in some parts of the world. As someone who's dealing with airlines every day, can you describe what you're seeing at the moment?
Yeah, well, pretty much with every country putting restrictions on travel, banning travel, and obviously airline not seeing any enough demand for the seats, that they're cancelling flights. So practically right now, anyone who's traveling is only traveling for essential reasons or for returning home. And anyone else, just basically, it's a social faux pas to travel, because if you told anyone you're traveling, people ask you why. So basically there should be no travel because everyone wants to just bunker down and stop the transmission of COVID-19. But what it does mean to travel is actually the world's biggest industry, not just air travel. You got cruises, you got hotels. So it's a massive, massive employer. And that's basically globally has completely halted. Like that, some countries' economies are dependent on travel, tourism for the GDP, and that's completely ground to a halt. So you can imagine what the flow-on effects on people's livelihoods, not just corporations, but the average person.
I think I saw a number this morning that said in the US they were predicting the loss of up to 25 million jobs associated with travel as a result of the shutdown. I mean, given numbers like that, what's your best guess about what the long-term impact is likely to be?
Yeah, I think there will be a lot of companies that won't survive this because in the past, a lot of people, so travel was increasing numbers, passenger numbers. So people were starting companies offering tours and Airbnb and hotels, and that they'll either just scraping by or making a little bit of money. But now I think a lot of those operators will not survive. So they won't return, which is a shame because it's all about innovation. So having more competition means that you have more service, more types of offerings. And without that means that you've only got the main big players that will remain. And they're going to be very conservative in the ways that in the offerings they offer. So I think innovation will take 2 or 3 steps back before starting to go forward again.
What do you think it will mean for platforms connected to the travel industry like Airbnb, for example?
I think there's 2 parts. One is safety aspect, so that your premises has to be cleaned safe enough. And the second one is whether legislation allows that, because Airbnb came along really to supplement the growth in consumer use. But now with sort of hotels occupancy so low, governments might choose to protect these businesses rather than Airbnbs. So it's a bit of a protectionism, I think, in the future.
So do you think we can expect to see international travel becoming more expensive because of all this consolidation that we're likely to see? Are we talking about, back to 1980s prices for airfares, or what will it be like?
Yeah, I fear that it will get more expensive because number one, I think it's just a supply and demand curve. So there won't be as many passengers traveling. So initially, from what I read, is that they talk about young people will resume traveling first. So young people are typically leisure travelers, so therefore paying a lower price. And then slowly you have business travelers resuming, but they will be budget constrained as well. So they wouldn't be paying top dollar, wouldn't be paying flexible tickets or business class tickets. So initially the lower end of the scale would pick up first, then slowly and slowly will you start increasing the price that people can afford to pay. Because now with like how we're doing this interview of a video conferencing, the same idea is like people have got used to video conferencing. They can do a lot of the business through that. But I think ultimately there's still no replacement for being there in person. So travel will still be essential to do business. And in a way, it also means that the fact that if you've taken 10, 12, 20 hours to physically get yourself there, it means you're serious about that business versus your competitor who's only going to do VC. So physical travel will never go away, but it'll be used to show how serious we are about having a partnership or forming business relationships.
So it will sort of become the premium option where business is concerned.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
And how long do you think we can expect travel volumes to stay low for? I mean, is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it 5 years? What's your prediction?
Yeah, the latest prediction, I believe they say it will take 3 years to resume previous levels, 12 months or at least January 2021 before some borders controls are relaxed. So initially domestic travel will open up, border controls will still maintain, and then the next level will probably be some international travel with countries who've got low cases or pretty contained COVID-19, and maybe 12 months later, international borders broadly open again.
At the moment, none of us can do much in the way of travel at all. You know, we can scarcely leave our suburb at the present time. How do you think business leaders should be making the most of this time where they can't travel?
Well, I think they should think about their processes, where they can find efficiencies. So things like treating this like a reset, where rather you've all been forced to stop and relook at what is the most important, what is the most valuable team members, what is the most valuable business products and services that you offer. So I think when things restart, is maybe some of the things that you've always done that were not profitable or maybe not value adding, you just drop them, never to return to them, and only focus on what's really valuable for your customers. The idea of being customer centric is really important because what used to be important to your customers may not be important in the future. So listen to your customers, getting feedback from your customers and see what they want, and then offering a service that matches their needs, I think will be where leadership in companies will be born.
I think those are some great tips right there. I just want to go back to thinking about frequent flyer points for a moment. And we were talking about this before we started recording. We were discussing the fact that some people still book their flights and their travel with cash, while other people choose to use points. Why should people be booking their travel with points rather than with cash?
Yeah, like all this really showcases one of the key benefits of using points is that points allow you to cancel 24 hours before departure, and you only have a small cancellation fee. So for example, Qantas only charges you 6,000 points to cancel, and you get all your points and taxes back. Virgin, for example, only charges you $60 to cancel. So basically, it's actually in the benefits of points. It's one of the key benefits of points is that you can actually cancel anytime. Whereas you would have heard a lot of people are really annoyed that you're only going to get travel credits, that you're not going to get full refunds if you pay with cash. Well, that's because you've entered in the contract, and then now you're just relying on the airline policy to get a refund back. So this really showcases one of the key benefits of using points. And I think even going forward, when travel resumes, like using points, there's no price fluctuations. So what I mean is, like if you're traveling from A to B, it's the same number of points to fly for 365 days a year. So it's wherever you can find any seats. And you can actually book to fly up to 4 hours before departure. So if you're a little bit iffy about, I'm not sure I'm going to go on this trip, you can either book in advance and cancel, or you can book 4 hours before you want to fly, and if the seat flies. So you maintain that huge flexibility. Whereas if you pay with cash, then you're potentially locked in again and have the same cancellation problems again.
So it's a bit of a natural hedge then, isn't it? Booking your points.
It is if you can. Obviously, if you've got to have points first to book, but if you do have points to have cash, then there's some are more suited for cash and some more trips are more suited for points.
And I can see that airlines are already responding to the crisis and the shutdown by changing the way that points work and by coming up with new products for points. I know Quantis has done some really interesting stuff in this space where they're now rewarding people for getting points for its own sake rather than just rewarding them for flying. And that's definitely something new that I don't think we've seen before. And I'd be interested to get your thoughts on to what extent that was coming anyway, or to what extent this is something that they've quickly developed to respond to the fact that people just aren't flying at the moment.
Yeah, they've been trying to grow the points currency, so to speak, that it operates as a separate system, so that it's not completely linked to points. So probably even about 2 years ago, Qantas changed the name from Qantas Frequent. They still call it a frequent flyer, but they don't call them frequent flyer points anymore. It's actually called Qantas points, to break that link that points is all about flying, because now they're focusing on points from earnings. So Qantas, only about 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, launched this thing called Points Club, which is all about points earned on the ground and then rewarding you with Qantas Club vouchers and things like that as a benefit. So the points and loyalty systems won't go away. They're basically a massive marketing program that encourages people to spend money with particular providers and then reward them with flights and goods and other rewards. So I don't see this ever going away. I think it's a very smart way of doing business, but the way they might tweak it over time needs to match with what people want. And
for those of us who have got loads of frequent flyer points, what should we be doing with those points while we can't use them on travel?
Well, it's a tough one. Like, the best place to use points is for flying, because that's what the whole system was designed to be. So you're going to get the best bang for buck for flying. But you can use them for gift vouchers and for pay down things. It all comes down to your circumstances. And I guess I never judge what people use their points for, gift voucher or flying. But the one thing I do want them to know is, consciously, if you're using your points for gift vouchers, one point only translates to 0.5 cent in value. Whereas if you use your points to fly business class, 1 point is getting about 3.5 cents. So the difference in value is about 7 times. So as long as you know that you're trading off, say, $100 gift voucher for potentially $700 of business class one day in the future, and you're happy with that, then you should go ahead. But the worst thing is to know that you did something and then realize later, that was a bad move.
But while we can't fly, there's lots of scope in there for new coffee machines and vacuum cleaners and all cool stuff, right?
Well, you can book up to 12 months in advance. So if you believe that by 2021, we'll be all done, so you can start booking stuff for April. Actually, I was looking at a flight to go to Japan for April 2021, and there were seats, so it's very tempting.
Are you going to do it?
I think I was thinking about later April, when it gets a little warmer, rather than it's a little bit chilly if you go right now.
Steve, it's been great to have you on the show today. Thanks so much for coming in, and I look forward to catching up with you again in a few months' time to see where we're at with international travel.
Thank you very, very much for having me here.
Hi everyone, this is Maher again, and just a few things before you head off. Firstly, if you feel you have gained valuable insights from the show, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss another episode. More importantly, don't forget to tell your fellow entrepreneur and business leader friends that this is the best podcast to tune into if they're looking to take on the world with their products and services. Also, if you are loving the podcast, please take the time to rate and review, as it's one of the best ways for us to get loads of free value into the hands of other entrepreneurs. And lastly, make sure to visit dearinassociates.com. That's DEARIN associates.com, where we have plenty of free resources and tools for you to get clarity and build momentum with your international venture. If you go there, you'll find the blueprint to international success, ebooks, our latest blog posts, and more. So be sure to check it out. And until next time, this is me encouraging you to expand your vision and wishing you all the best as you continue your global journey.